Hello there, and as usual, I'm Aaron from my Stank Gamers, and welcome. So today I wanted to show you my semi-constructed cryo facility. Now the reason for its semi-construction is that I found there was a much easier way of building this thing, but I'll talk you through the idea and then I'll show you it in action. That's if it actually decides to work this time. Now the system is quite simple. Imagine that you want to access a cryo bay, but at the same time you want to have multiple cryo bays coming up to one location. So the idea was we have this cryo bay and then below we have cryo bay storage. And what I wanted to do is take this cryo bay that's accessible at the top, lower it down into this network, a little bit like the doors if you've ever seen Monsters Inc. or various other Japanese sort of car parks. And in this case I'm going to attach it to this particular piston head here and hopefully store it away there. And the idea behind this design, even though it's completely overly complicated compared to the other ones I'll show you after this, was just a interesting way of how to store cryo bays. So let's give it a little bit of a go and see if it still works. Now first off, I'm going to access the control panel and I want to access this button here that I believe is going to align it to the available connector, and I don't think there's any other available connectors here. So there we go. So we've got that only available connector down there. So press number 3. That is going to reverse the shaft to the correct direction. So you can see how that's rotated the piston there. And we're also going to lower the main shaft down. So as we lower this main shaft down, I'll actually pop out my character's body and see exactly what's happening here. So the piston's going down to this level, and the idea is instead of using merge blocks or something, I'm using the actual rotors itself. Another problem with this particular design itself is that it ended up killing the cryo bay occupant just due to the fact that when it disconnects to connect to this second part that I'll show you just now. So we need to extend out the second piston. That is an F on that part. So you can see how that piston is actually coming to connect or collect that cryo bay. This is an advanced rotor, so the idea was oxygen. I didn't actually think at the time that it would cause as much trouble as it did. So there we go. So that's connected to that part. Now we actually need to lock the attachment. So we press F on this one. So you can see how that snapped it to that one. And we also need to disconnect it from this one here. So there we go. So that's now disconnected from that bit and attached to that bit there. So it's as simple as retracting that piston in with the cryo bay. So you can see it's actually... How cool is that? That's so awesome. And then the idea, the problem was I needed to automate it so I could recall a particular piston at a particular time. You can see that these other pistons, or not pistons, these other cryo bays don't have the actual bottom connecting point because I never got to that part of actually installing it. But hopefully sometime in the future, if I get enough time, I'll work out a way of recalling each individual cryo bay due to a particular... Well, it'll be quite easy actually. I just have to give it a particular name and give it the rotors and pistons a particular sequence to actually go and collect it from that actual point. Should we ever go recalling it back to the service anymore? We'll recall the same pod. So the first thing we need to do is extract that piston out. So let's hit F on that. Bring that back into that area. We'll try to recall this one as fast as possible, and this should line it up with this lower part perfectly. Beautiful. Oh, I'm gone. It's a little bit over. Let's actually attempt to attach. So I've got this little control panel here that's stuck on after. So that's attached to that, and we need to deattach. I think it's this button here. Fingers crossed. Oh, I don't know. That's now unsnapped. We need to retract that part of the piston in. Beautiful. We can also now raise up that piston, and and we can also rotate that piston around. Oh, I think it's actually become unbound from the key since we disconnected it and reconnected it. Well, there we go. We've just recovered that cryo bay from that particular area. Sadly, the system doesn't work because when you disconnect it from the rotor, it starves the occupant of oxygen and it kills them. Too bad it's not got like a temporary oxygen supply on board, so like as a backup source, because if it did, that would just be far better and you could have a system that worked like that. But anyway, if you've got any ideas for this system, let me know. So now that we're actually outside, I wanted to show you 2 more systems for sort of delivering cryo bays to people very easily. Now you'll have to imagine that the rest of this framed behind a ship's wall, but I've just left them in the open here so you can see the function. And since these are so simple, it just kind of made that massive one really redundant So I'll just show you these quickly, give you some ideas. So first off, you just hit the button, and there you go. So it rotates around to the next level. So the next available cryo bay. So if you're on a server like this is perfect. You just find the next available cryo bay. You get inside. Maybe all that row's been filled. The next person comes along. He hits the button. So in this case, I've just stuck it on reverse. So it will switch between the two. So there you go. These are both empty. Very nice. And you've got a total of, let me have a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You've got 6 on each level. And so you've got 4 times 6. Very nice indeed. And I'll show you quickly over here one simple design as well. So this one is in case you want a bit more of a protected bunkered one. So you just hit this, it brings whichever one you want out, and then you stop it on the next one. Okay, you load that person up. Maybe you need to get in the next one, stop it again, load that up, and it just takes up a lot less space. You can actually tuck this down the side of one of your interior rooms, so all you need is a shaft rather than a long wide room. That might work with a few ships. Anyway, I just wanted to share you some cryo-based sort of concepts with you that had been playing on my mind. Sadly, the big room of cryopods, even though it looks awesome, just look at, oh, it's so sexy, it just doesn't function that well. It reminds me of something from Star Wars or from even Half-Life when they've got all them clones of people moving around. But if there was just a way of making it function really robotically and fast, be really awesome. Anyway, I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you